Hey, what's up, everyone? We're back for episode 10. This would be. We're actually going to do a lot of fantasy football talk here from now on out, the next few weeks, actually.
Yeah, so just listen to me, ignore both of these guys. I'll win you the championship.
I don't know about that.
It's 100% true.
Fantasy quarterbacks is the talk for today. This is our first live show on YouTube in a while, other than the public shows.
Exactly.
It's been 4 weeks, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little bit of a break. We got Jared Goff over here, Matthew Stafford, and Next Up Sports Talk representation.
Yeah, that's because I should be the quarterback for all 32 teams.
All 32. Today we're going to go over 32 rankings, 32 to 11. Got to tune into our next show to get the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the guys you got to pick. As we go, we're going to obviously give you our rankings from 32 to 11, but we're going to explain why we picked them. Now, this is an average of us three. This isn't us three just sitting down saying, hey, this guy's 32, this guy's 31. It's an average, so if you want to throw some comments out there of, I don't think this guy should be here, this guy should be here, we'll explain. We'll also go into some, we can go into some details on how to draft, depending your league style, 6 points, 4 points, stuff like that.
Yeah. Chad is not going to be happy with our first, with any of our comments about his team. So
sorry, Chad. Sorry, boss. So as we go, I'm actually going to type, just so everyone can see the board, I'm going to type who we picked along with it here. Started off with pick number 32. The last one, not necessarily, doesn't have to be starters from day one. This is top 10 fantasy producers.
Yeah.
Or sorry, this can be 32 down.
So this is actually a pretty tough one because we actually don't know who's going to start for the Dolphins, but we have Rosen at 32.
And this is strictly for fantasy football too. So it's not like Rosen might win 10 games. No, this is for fantasy. This is for stats. And I mean, I think we have him last out of the 32 because I mean, look at his targets.
Yeah.
Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
Average guys, I would say.
And he's not going to play every game, I assume. So you want a quarterback that's going to go play every game in the year. I mean, hopefully nobody gets hurt. But he's not going to play every game, I'm assuming. Because I'm a Fitzmagic guy. So
Brett's in the chat. He said #Fitzmagic. I'll tell you, if you're doing DraftKings, one of the top picks, he's probably priced lower. Pick not Larry Fitzgerald, Ryan Fitzmagic. Pick him. Pick him in DraftKings. Depending, actually, you know what, though? It depends who they play. I didn't see their first couple games.
Yeah, I didn't look that in.
Opponent-wise, we didn't get that into it. But definitely pick him because he could be a top pick. After a couple weeks, it would probably go to Rosen, though, I would say. After he throws, 5 touchdowns and 3 picks in each game?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the fantasy point of it, I mean, Rosen's obviously, he's a second quarterback. Maybe not even – he might not even make it on a fantasy roster. So
I think it's pouring outside right now.
It's all right.
No softball.
We'll play.
Number 32.
31.
We got for 31. I'm off. I don't know how to count. That's why I'm not a counter.
The new Denver Broncos quarterback, Joe Flacco.
He might throw a ton. Is he going to get a lot of yards? I doubt it because who's he throwing to?
Yeah.
First of all,
the receivers that they have are comparable to Miami. They're just a bunch of average guys. To be honest, I don't even really know who they have at the wide receiver. But
the other thing with Joe Flacco is he might throw 30, 40 times a game. I don't know how much they're going to utilize him. He is getting a little bit older. Guarantee almost a pick or two a game.
Yeah.
If you're throwing that many passes, and I mean they still have Lindsey,
Philip Lindsay's going to be an interesting pick this year.
Which honestly might help Joe Flacco. Little dump-off passes. One of the things that is very hard to kind of judge is yards after catch. If you have good wide receivers and they get a lot of yards after the catch, that's not really the quarterback that's creating that. That's the wide receiver. So a lot of these you got to look at the wide receivers that they're throwing to, because if they get a lot of yak.
Oh, it helps out tremendously in fantasy football who you have throwing. It also, believe it or not, sort of like the Browns, I would say the Buccaneers, teams that are trailing. Like Baker Mayfield, is he a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? No. But is he going to be top 10 fantasy? My prediction is yes, because they're going to be throwing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just more stats. Number 30, we got Dwayne Haskins.
Redskins.
Washington.
He could very easily climb, up to the early 20s. You never know. I mean, it's a rookie, so he's got to learn the system, but...
you never know with rookies.
His
so.
coach said he sees the field pretty well, so...
Yeah, you never know with rookies. They could come in and shine with a couple of the wide receivers, and, if he throws to... It's always hard to judge, and I say this about every quarterback. You don't know how many times they're going to throw a game. We don't know most of the offensive coordinators and what they're planning on doing this next season. So,
well, with rookies especially, with overall offenses that have been established, you have an idea.
Well, it was the same with Mahomes. Like, nobody knew that he was going to come out and just
nobody knew he was going to sling it like he did.
Yeah,
no. But Dwayne Haskins, as a rookie, he doesn't have the running upside as like Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the like Lamar Jackson did last year.
Yeah.
He doesn't have targets. He really doesn't have anyone.
Yeah.
So, I could see him falling. I mean, 30 is pretty low, but I can see him as one of the worst statistics wise in the NFL.
Yeah.
So we do Dwayne Haskins from Washington. It's number 30. 29.
Your boy.
Eli Manning?
Yeah.
He used to be my boy. It was Plaxico Burress that was my boy.
So, I mean, he's obviously getting older. He lost Odell.
Yeah.
Not many targets. He does have Saquon, so the running game is going to be there, so that'll open up play action for him. But I think for sure after their bye week, I feel like they make a quarterback change.
I would agree. Drew Lock, that is?
I believe so, yeah.
Drew Lock. Yeah. As we said, the Mannings helped him, did some trainings with him, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I would say if Eli gets replaced midseason, he's got to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him coming back and being the quarterback coach, since they kind of...
Because of Drew Lock, because of their situation.
Yeah. One of the other surprising...
Daniel Jones. I thought that was weird. Brett just commented Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I was thinking Drew Lock definitely sounded like the right name, but...
He was a big talk in the draft.
The Duke was...
Yeah.
Where did he go?
Huh?
Drew Lock, Missouri.
Yeah, did he...
Oh, I forgot what team that he went to. But...
He went behind... Oh, my God. Why can't I think about this?
Yeah, I don't remember. But, yeah.
He went behind a guy that he's going to be replaced. Denver.
Oh, yeah.
Denver.
Okay.
He went behind... Yeah.
That's right. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a change,
that's what I was going to say. Same situation there. But, no, I know with the Mannings, the Duke College resemblance, so it was Daniel Jones.
One of the interesting things with Eli Manning... And no matter what you say, he did win a Super Bowl. He had the highest completion percentage of his career last year. So it might not say a lot, but it's the same thing. I mean, now we're kind of getting out of hand because I'm going to compare him to LeBron James, because LeBron James had great stats this last year, like Bo was saying.
I'll tell you why.
But did he win?
He had the best completion stats of his career because he finally had a running back in Saquon.
Yeah,
they ran it a lot, so he didn't have to throw as much, and he still had Odell.
But are you going to take a risk on a rookie who you don't know anything about coming in, or are you going to leave Eli for this year because last year he did have a high completion percentage.
I would definitely say you would almost leave Eli. You try to leave him in the entire year.
Yeah.
Because there's no quarterbacks recently that actually been sat throughout the first year. It's, hey, let my starters fail, and let's throw this rookie in and let him fail too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, out of a fantasy standpoint, like, I just feel like it's such a risk to take an Eli or a
It's all on
Flacco
Saquon.
because with the rookie quarterbacks and how it's been going, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, once your quarterback fails, all right, come on, rookie.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, these guys are going to be free agents in our fantasy football league. So
Exactly.
unless, something really weird happens where either they blow up and they're having a great season, or if that kind of just threw me off, that bug that just went through.
Catch it with your hand.
$5. But kind of lost train of thought there. But you have to leave Eli in just because
You're
not going to replace
him.
him.
We're talking more now
overall for team.
wise.
But going back to fantasy, like I said, these guys are going to be free agents in our league unless they blow up or somebody gets hurt and you need to replace them. So,
So I'm kind of excited for the next one. I'm just going to jump into that one.
Yeah.
Because I could see this guy moving up on our list too, and that's Sam Darnold.
So
because of Le'Veon.
Right. I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think his fantasy stats are going to be good. But
I'm going to catch
it's one of these times. I just randomly did it and I almost got it. Okay. Anyway, we will throw out sleepers and stuff like that, like you're doing right now. But also keep in mind, like you said, these guys are going to be free agents.
Yeah.
So we are just going down the list, but it's fun to do. But most of these guys are going to be free agents.
yeah, correct.
Unless injuries or breakouts.
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell.
It always
Robbie
helps when you.
Anderson.
Robbie Anderson, yeah. I mean,
they had a good tight end developing.
the thing with Darnold,
They still
I
don't
think,
have great
is
receivers.
He's similar to Favre with the interceptions. He throws risky passes, and then
Yeah.
that'll cause for picks, and
Yeah.
obviously in fantasy that you don't want that.
Going back to what you were saying with Le'Veon now, you play against a running back like that, most defensive coordinators will stack the box. That can free up a lot for a quarterback. So, I mean...
And it also can make them...
Yeah. Well, Robbie Anderson's one of those guys that we were talking about earlier, yards after the catch. He is very elusive, hard to tackle. He might be small, but he'll outrun you. So, I could see what you said. He could move up quick. Robbie Anderson could be... top 25 wideout.
Now, fantasy football is completely different than DraftKings as well. Once the season actually starts, we'll get more into DraftKings tips and stuff like that. I'm telling you, though, Robbie Anderson is a guy that is not consistent. He'll put up over 25 points 3 or 4 times in DraftKings, and it's great to have him.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that will sit 4,000 range cap, on DraftKings. So he's going to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Sort of like Darnold if he gets a favorable matchup. I don't know. 27, we have this guy's been very, very off the radar, very depressing. His whole career.
I feel like his whole career has been
not good.
He definitely has not lived up to his potential when he first came in the league.
We got Marcus Mariota,
Mm-hmm.
from Tennessee. So Derrick Henry.
Give him the ball.
Delaney Walker's fallen off as well. The older you get, you can't really get better. He had a really good year 2 years ago. Last year he was injured a little. They had a younger tight end. Corey Davis is going to develop into a decent receiver.
He kind of came on for a couple games after he came back from injury, and I had him in fantasy last year. He sat the bench the whole time, but you could see that they were trying to start to work him into some stuff, and with him, he needs the right offensive coordinator to put him in positions. You saw the Rams this year. Who was the one wide receiver that always got those little screen passes?
Cooper Kupp until he got
Robert
injured.
Woods.
Yeah, well, Tavon.
Brandon Cook.
Didn't they have Tavon Austin?
No, he's on Dallas, I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay. That's who I was thinking about. That's who he reminds me of. Like,
the one thing about Marcus Mariota, I think that would have helped his career in the Titans in general is, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Chip Kelly was the coach of the Eagles, and then I don't remember if he got fired or if they went their separate ways, but he almost landed a coaching job for the Tennessee Titans, and I feel like that would have fit perfectly with Mariota's playing style.
yeah.
So I mean, you're right. Depending on who your coach is and your offensive scheme.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why everyone's so high on the Packers this year, is because all they saw the last 2 years was little screen passes, and Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you're gonna throw screen passes with him.
Yeah.
So
injuries are a huge difference in fantasy football. Big difference. I mean, it's a win or lose situation for your whole season. That could, you have the number one pick, your guy gets injured. Injuries is huge.
Yeah.
One of my biggest tips is not. I don't know if you noticed. I think I say it every draft. I do not like picking guys who get injured a lot, nor do good the first half of the year, but don't do good the second. For instance, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or 3, 4, and 5 years ago, Hopkins was one of those guys. DeAndre Hopkins would break out season 1 to 8 or week 1 to 8. At the end, Texans would choke.
Yeah.
Not too good. That's why you need someone like a Brady that steps up towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Speaking of Brady, I'm interested to see how Edelman does the entire year.
Yeah.
He's going to be moving up there on people's list.
Yeah.
26.
26, we got Lamar Jackson. I'm not very, very high on him because I'm going to go back to the point that you just said, Bo. I don't like picking people that do get injured, even though he didn't get injured last year. He's a running quarterback.
Yeah. The thing about Lamar Jackson, I think, this year is I think he'll move up from 26 because he's had an off season to correct his throwing. I mean, last year he couldn't throw the ball 15 yards.
No, absolutely terrible.
And the other thing that I think that will help him is they added Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
So I think for them, especially just for the Baltimore Ravens alone, I think their offense got better. And if they can make it to the goal line, that's going to be their key. They need to make it to the goal line.
Yeah.
Correct. I think Lamar Jackson, so if you look at these ESPN analysis, every professional person that does these analysis, they have their picks, ESPN's picks, and a guy's high upside or downside.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's upside could be top 10. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
If he's going to rush, he's going to average, I would say, 65 yards a game rushing.
I agree with you, but I would not pick him. Even though he could have a great upside, he could also, have 6 games where he goes off, and then he runs up the middle one time and gets laid out. He's out for the season.
And he's done. Yeah, I agree. I would definitely, you don't start him. I'd say he's a great player to have on your bench.
Yeah.
Because
matchup-wise,
let's put it like this. He averaged, I would say, 140 yards passing a game last year. Is he going to get worse than that? Can you possibly get worse than 140 yards passing? I would say no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
His passing game's going to go up.
Not with an off season to correct that.
No. I would say he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I
guess
I'll have to see. They got John Brown. He's another one of those elusive guys that could really help out Lamar.
I think they got I want to say they got a rookie wide receiver too.
They did draft a rookie. Also, secret sleeper maybe. Hayden Hurst, tight end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they got a couple of young guys that were Hurst was hurt the first half of last.
Don't they have?
And he was supposed to be good.
Who has Max Williams?
They got Max Williams as well. He's more of a blocking tight end. Though.
Yeah, I liked him coming out of college.
Yeah.
So, this will be his first year.
I want to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole offseason to develop, I think Lamar Jackson would be a decent pick.
Yeah.
You don't start him right off the bat.
Yeah.
Definitely good bench.
So the next guy,
This guy,
he used to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback.
He was always
No,
garbage.
like in
I
fantasy,
personally-
he used to
I personally
he
wouldn't
used to
think
get
say
drafted
so.
really high.
So we're talking about Andy Dalton here. I personally wouldn't say that, but I feel like he's always had the potential of that.
He's always
especially
had the
with having
potential.
AJ Green.
He's always.
I'm talking
flunked.
about fantasy drafts.
still.
That's
Fan,
People used to draft him high because of Green,
but he never
Yeah.
was.
but
in
he
the
never
top
he
10.
never did
Never.
anything.
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I agree with you though. He's always I mean, them as a team, they've always gotten to the playoffs and lost. You know, they always lose at
Yeah.
that first time, or they get really close. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make the jump this year.
Yeah. So as we were talking before the show, Andy Dalton played 11 games, and he actually had a decent season. He had 21 touchdowns and 10
Yeah.
interceptions.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that touchdown interception ratio wasn't great, but now you got John Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got a younger tight end developing behind Eifert. Joe Mixon's coming up.
Yeah,
So all
he
these guys
finished
are
very
helping him.
strong last year.
He's gonna be
Mixon,
decent this year too.
yeah.
But Andy Dalton,
I
I like to place it. I like to place it 20 to
Mhm.
26 for him.
I think Andy Dalton's one of those guys that you keep on your bench in case
Matchup wise,
they have if they start playing very well, they have some pieces. Their defense isn't the strongest, but if they start putting some points on the board, he could become a starter.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll let you take the next one because this is your guy and I hate him. So
So I got the next one, and this is what is this number? 24.
mhm.
I got Jameis Winston, Tampa Bay. Honestly, I got him number 10 on my personal list. Is he a top 10 skilled quarterback in the NFL? No, he's garbage. I'm telling you, he's garbage. With Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, their line is getting better. And now he actually has a full offseason if he's not suspended. He's not hurt.
Yeah.
They're going to be a team that's going to put up points.
Let me ask you this: would you draft him after what you said about not drafting injured players that get injured?
I would feel safe with him this year.
Okay, fair enough.
Going back with
guess-
his suspensions and injuries, no.
I would not feel safe with him.
yeah, and I don't feel safe with him because I feel like he's not like a Josh Gordon where you know he's gonna smoke a blunt and get in trouble, but he'll do something to get suspended. He'll get hurt. He'll throw the ball flat. He's just so inconsistent.
They got weapons.
That's the only
And
that's the
tight
only
ends.
thing that he has going for him.
Well, I had Mike Evans last year in fantasy, and Winston killed his rating. I couldn't play him with 100% confidence. I had to because he had a pretty good season.
Put it like this: week 1 through 8, he was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. You would put him over good. So as really good, what happened was Chris Godwin went up, and Adam Humphries had a great second half to his year.
He did.
There's so many stats to be put up on that offense when they're behind.
Yeah.
That's why I have him number 10 on my fantasy list.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback. He's not a good teammate. He's a crybaby. I just think he's a good fan. He's good having fantasy.
Yeah.
Definitely in DraftKings a week or two.
I guess we'll have to see.
23.
Take it.
Greg Ross is quarterback.
Gregory
Dak Prescott.
Ross.
So
He actually had not a terrible season, not a great season.
the thing about Dak is he came to the league and he was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's settled in. I think defenses have figured him out. He's got the right mentality. He wants to win. I just don't think his mechanics is 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
they got Amari Cooper
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the season, last year, and that definitely helped. And
Yeah.
Zeke, they need to run the ball more, but
Dak had 28 touchdowns last year and only 8 picks. So not double digits in interceptions. So obviously in fantasy football, we look at interceptions because that'll take points away from you. Dak is also a running quarterback also, but he's very smart on how he runs. He doesn't
Last year
take
he
on
didn't run
necessary
a
hits.
whole lot, though.
But he can get out of the pocket. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about quarterbacks, but I don't draft those quarterbacks. They're good backup quarterbacks on your bench.
Yeah.
I think he has it good because Zeke and the Cowboys offense, period. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup is going to develop as well. Alan Hearns is still there.
I think they lost a lot of trust in Dak
Wait a
last
second.
year.
Jason Witten.
He's
coming back. I totally forgot about that. That's been off the radar.
He sat in a booth all last year. I don't know if he's going to be too sorry. it going.
We're good.
All right. Sorry about that.
We're live.
Well, the weather's bad. Who knows?
That is true.
So
We got a lot of storms.
that's going to affect the mics.
So the next one was
21.
This is gonna be interesting too. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I feel like he'll do pretty good because of the running game and the receivers that he has.
Kyler Murray kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. And I really like Russell Wilson because he's very smart on when he should run and when not to run. And Kyler Murray is also a very elusive quarterback. He's not like one of the quarterbacks that's going to take off out of the pocket and take a hit. He can make some people miss. So like I say to all running quarterbacks, I'm not going to take him. Might sit on my bench and maybe play a game. But,
right.
I mean, usually my bench in fantasy football is I'll take people that have a high upside rather than really consistent players, even though, quarterback-wise, I'd take a consistent player over high upside. All other positions, I'll take high upside rather than, somebody who's just going to be average.
Right.
So
he's a sleeper that could be really good.
And that's what I was just going to get at. I feel like in our fantasy league, I mean in other fantasy leagues too, if you decide to wait for a quarterback and then quarterbacks start going and then your next pick, you're like, oh, I need this wide receiver, I need this tight end, or snag a defense. If Kyler Murray is there later on in the rounds, I'd be okay with taking him and starting him because, he's got Fitzgerald. That's a big security blanket. David Johnson, hopefully he has a better year. But, I mean, who else are they going to play at quarterback for the Cardinals? They're sticking with him the whole year.
Oh, yeah, he's going to start. They drafted him that number 1 overall. You have to play that guy.
If he can if he can avoid the big hits and play smart, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 20, I think this guy has a pretty good upside. He's developing, and I guess this is not only a fantasy quarterback, but he's really good as a quarterback, I think, himself now. Mitchell Trubisky, Cohen, Allen Robinson, and a bunch of average people as other guys on their offense.
Yeah.
They got another running back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what actually makes Trubisky a great pick in fantasy is who you just mentioned, Cohen. You throw little dump-off passes to him, the human joystick will make people miss. And that's all that you can – you have both of those guys.
And
you could have a solid team.
You got to take into consideration the yak.
Yeah.
The catch. Because the yardage goes to the quarterback as well.
Yeah, correct.
So
So
I think the thing about Trubisky, especially with we don't know how the Packers defense is going to be, but he plays the Packers twice a year.
Yeah.
And they got a pretty good defense. So
yeah. Trubisky is a very good team quarterback. So what that tells me is that they trust him a lot. So when that kind of happens, your offensive coordinator will give you the situations to prove yourself that they did last year, and they had a very good season. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even give him more passes this year. Mm-hmm. And with the running backs they do have coming out of the backfield,
I will tell you, they just utilize their offense perfectly last
they do.
year. They don't have anyone great. It's just they use everything to perfection.
Yeah.
Cohen was sort of a nothing. He sort of plays like Theo Riddick in his prime. Theo Riddick was a great receiving running back, and so is Cohen.
Yeah.
Is Kevin White ever going to be okay? Or is he just done?
Who
He's
knows?
been in the league for 4 or 5 years now. 4 years.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have him on my watch list, but Allen Robinson, I had him last year. Great flex player, got targets. Couple games, I think he had over 25 points. So that's one of the guys that I like, and I like when a quarterback has a guy like that has good hands. So, but
So out of all these, I guess, out of the ones we said so far, up to 20, what one do you think is a sleeper? What one would you have on your team?
Yeah. I would
As
go.
a starter?
Well,
as a sleeper, who would you pick for fantasy, period?
Well, I have a guy that we didn't even mention that is going to start, Fitzmagic. I honestly would be confident in drafting him and starting him. I'd pick him late, but his quarterback rating last year was, what do I got down here? It was 100 quarterback rating. So what all goes into quarterback rating is receptions over attempts or completions over attempts. It's touchdowns over attempts. And basically everything is average versus your attempts. So when you have over 100 quarterback rating, you're doing good things. And yes, I know he throws a lot of picks, but that is also in the consideration for interceptions over attempts, and that goes into your quarterback rating. He also didn't play every game. I'd like to see him play every game, and who knows what would happen. Maybe he would be a top 15, top 20.
A lot of his stats, though, came from the second half when they're down by 20, 30.
Fine with me. I don't care if their team wins.
No, right. I'm just saying I don't. He had Mike Evans. He had Godwin. He had Humphreys.
Yeah.
He had the Buccaneers. Now he's with the Miami Dolphins.
Tampa Bay wasn't that great.
A lot better offense than Miami.
They have a better wide receiver. One. Better wide receiver. Mike Evans.
I would say all of them. Godwin's better than anyone. Humphreys is consistent. Humphreys is equivalent, I would say, to Kenny Stills. The only thing Stills is good at is catching a deep ball every 3 or 4 games.
Devontae Parker?
Devontae Parker's not good.
I think he's pretty good. He didn't have a good season last year, but he's a solid receiver.
I think the Buccaneers' weapons are better than Miami.
I don't think Fitzmagic is the way to go.
We'll see.
Not this year.
So, to answer your question though, my guy is Kyler Murray, from 20 to 32.
Okay.
Out of all of them.
Yeah. I would say my two. I mean, Trubisky's obviously 20. We just put him. I mean, he's the guy we just said, so I would say he's the next best. But I would say Winston or Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Just because they're possible upside.
Lamar Jackson would be my second, just because for Kyler and Lamar, you have to put in the factor that they're both going to run.
Mm-hmm.
So that, that might add a few touchdowns to their total.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Foles is not going to run. So
yeah. I mean, if I legitly had to go out of the players that we mentioned, I would go Winston, just because you can't bet against a player like Mike Evans. He's top 10, top 15 wide receiver, maybe even higher, skilled wise.
Sure, and fantasy.
He can go up and grab some balls, and that.
I think Godwin's can be good though.
Yeah,
He's fast. He can run routes. He can catch.
I had him for a couple games last year. Then I dropped him because he just the targets wise, he's a deep ball threat. That offense was a mess last year. They were switching quarterbacks, so it's going to be interesting to see if Winston can stay healthy, which I don't think he can. He could be solid.
All right, so let's go now. Get into the heart of this here. 19 to 11 we're going to do, okay? So 19, I'm not a big fan of this just because his weapons and his health. You liked him, though. I think you both liked him.
I like him.
I feel like he actually does have weapons, though. He's got Kittle. He's got, what's his name, Pettis.
Dante Pettis.
Kind of emerged last year.
Yeah, if he's healthy.
The running back, I feel like he's kind of a receiving back. I forget his name. But if he can stay healthy, I mean, he was hurt the whole year last year. So
the reason why I'm really big on Jimmy G is because he learned behind one of the best quarterbacks and one of the best head coaches. Well, the best head coach in the NFL.
And the best quarterback, I would say.
Yeah. But you have to take that into consideration because when he did play for the Patriots was amazing. Now, was that because Bill Belichick or was that because Jimmy G actually has something?
I guess we really don't know. We haven't had enough time to let him basically let him play.
I mean,
he's definitely got to show himself.
If he would have did that with a different team, I would have had him in the top 10 for quarterbacks. But he did it with the Patriots, who pretty much anybody that goes to the Patriots offense has value in fantasy if they're playing.
The only thing I didn't like was only for a couple games.
Yeah.
So it's hard to judge that quick. Number 18, hey, this is my guy. Honestly, being a Detroit fan, being a Stafford fan, I think he could his upside, he could push his way into top 10 easy. His downside, he could be 20, 25. It all depends how they play. I mean, you can almost say that with any quarterback, but truly...
The one thing about Stafford is really no matter how hurt he is, he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing.
But is that good or bad?
I think it's good because when he's hurt, I don't know if you've seen him play.
Did you see the news that came out?
No.
He was playing with a broken back last year.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's probably why he had the lowest completion percentage of his career.
He was playing with a broken back.
So the thing about Stafford,
he does.
Stafford for fantasy, he always puts up a crap ton of yards, usually. So I mean,
that's because they have those backs.
I like you said, it depends how they play their offense.
Sorry for cutting you off, but we keep going back to this with quarterbacks, at least I do, is the running backs that they have coming out of the backfield. Kerryon Johnson, he's a good catching running back, along with Riddick, who is still there, maybe a little bit older. That's how Matthew Stafford gets a lot of his yards coming out of the backfield. So,
yeah, honestly, though, if you look at his weapons last year, other than the first couple of games, from week 8 on to the end of the year, he had Kenny Galladay. That's it. Marvin Jones is hurt. Tate left. And he still found a way to give these random guys. Yeah. Okay, Marvin Jones is healthy. Kenny Galladay is getting better. Kenny Galladay is going to be good. Now, rookie tight end. Okay, now your running backs are becoming better.
Marvin Jones was a great pick in fantasy until he got hurt.
Right.
And I would be very confident in picking him again this year. So that could help out Stafford. I'm really big into offensive line also.
They got to protect him. They have to.
So
that's the number one key for the Lions.
Especially with Stafford being older and him taking shots and, like last year.
I would say he's the toughest quarterback in the league for sure. But you still got to protect him. Yeah. You got to give him
an opportunity to throw the ball down the field. And having a running game helps, and I think they're going to develop that more. They were decent last year, better than normal. Number 17, we're going to go right into Kirk Cousins. Honestly, I think this is just because his weapons. You put him on another team, he's going to fall from 28 to 32.
Major weapons.
It's just like when he was on Washington. I never picked him for fantasy.
No.
The wide receivers that the flags right up there. Thielen. He can run some routes.
Dalvin Cook. Yeah. Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
And an NFL quarterback that has guys that can run smooth routes and find a way to get open, you're going to get completions. You're going to get yards. Diggs is very elusive. I don't know how many. I didn't look into it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Diggs was towards the top in yards after catch last year. So, I mean, you had him on your team all last year, and he kept you. Yeah. He kept you alive.
I definitely say Kirk Cousins is. I had Kirk Cousins last year as a backup. Believe it or not, the stats weren't great. Yeah. The reason why you'd think the stats are good, he really only did have 2 targets last year.
And that's why he's in the middle for us.
So. Thielen and Diggs went off. Cook was hurt. Cook really didn't do much at all out of the backfield. He has a lot of good potential. And Rudolph went off the last couple weeks. Rudolph was terrible other than that.
Once you lose your starting running back, you become one-dimensional no matter what. Because you don't have a backup. Like, out of all these teams, there's very few teams that have that backup running back.
Yeah.
You're scared that you're going to stack the box.
Yeah.
So you become one.
So then you start taking people out of.
Exactly.
You start running nickel formation. You start putting more corners, safeties, and they run zones.
I mean, even if your running back is having a terrible day, not getting through the line, you still have the threat, of him busting loose. So they're going to play it a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
So there's so many factors that go into.
Imagine if they had vintage AP. Imagine if that would be a very good team if they had Adrian Peterson in his prime.
Running backs always help.
Yeah.
Speaking of running backs, the next guy here, he got another running back to help him out a lot. Lost Antonio Brown, but now Juju's on the rise. Big Ben we have at 16.
Yeah.
I think he's about in the middle as well. Yeah. I definitely could see his stats going lower than he used to, though. I definitely could see him close to 20.
Yeah, he could slide, but he also has one of the top receivers, Juju, who I don't know what he finished last year overall for wide receivers, but
I would say 8, 9-ish. I had him with Diggs last year.
But yeah, I mean, and they have a good running back, James Conner. He had a good season last year. Yeah. Don't know how he'll do this year, but top three, okay. But Big Ben has that offense that he could rise also. So
now think of injuries as well with him.
Yeah.
So you never know. He's
getting up.
He's a tough guy though.
But he's a tough cookie.
Tough cookie.
15. Now I don't want to. I
like
had him
this
high.
guy.
You had him high. I don't think you had him high.
I didn't have him.
This
really
guy,
high.
his upside is really, really. It's up there.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
Buffalo,
yes. His throwing abilities is better than Lamar Jackson, and his rushing is just about the same.
He had 8 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and he had like 13 hurdles.
Yeah.
He jumped over like 82 people.
Yeah, but he was diving into the end zone. He was taking shots. Yes, you can do that for 1, 2, 3 years. You're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
These guys are huge that are hitting him. He's a big guy, but he's a quarterback who quarterbacks usually focus more on, completing with their wide receivers. They don't need to get into the weight room as much. I mean, these guys take some shots. They can be injured real quick.
I guess I would say he has the same. After looking at it, I would say we probably put him a little too high, but he definitely has the upside, sort of like Lamar Jackson.
I don't think we put him too high because you got to look at it. I mean, usually fantasy leagues consist of 10 to 12 teams. So he's top 15, right? So everyone is going to have a starting quarterback, you would think.
Yeah.
And then you look at him, and he's like that kind of player that
so he's still
is
a
really good bench quarterback.
Yeah.
When your starting quarterback is on his bye, and if he has a good matchup, that's perfect placement.
I sort of like how you said that of. This is fantasy football. 10 to 12 teams typically in the league. These guys aren't starting yet. None of these guys that we said are going to be typically starting.
Right.
Going to 14, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
I think.
The reason he had a good year last year is because Keenan Allen stayed healthy most of the year. Keenan Allen, I had him on my team last year, and he was one of the reasons why I got as far as I did. I had him and Mike Evans, so he can carry a quarterback. He's one of those guys that can absolutely carry Phillip Rivers to be an average quarterback. Obviously, we're not even on our starting quarterbacks like we just said, but
right. The next one, I would say we're going to get into it. Phillip Rivers, obviously, everyone knows him. He's been in the league 17, 16, a lot of years.
He had 32 touchdowns last year and 12 interceptions. If your quarterback throws for over 30 touchdowns in a season, you're going to be a solid team.
Yeah. 13. This is higher upside than normal. I don't like him as a normal quarterback, but he's going to have better stats. You like him. Derek Carr.
I didn't like him last year. You know why? because he didn't have anyone.
Right.
This year, he has arguably one of the top 3 receivers in fantasy this year. You know, you could say Antonio Brown is the top fantasy wide receiver. Everyone has their own opinion, but I think the thing for the Raiders and him, I mean, you got Antonio Brown, but the rookie running back that they selected in the draft, I think that's going to really help them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with rookies at any position to see how good you do. Could Brown be top 3? Definitely.
Yeah. At least what I have.
I think he could be close to 10, too.
He could. The other thing about Derek Carr is I'm going a lot on, stats here, and we were going over quarterback ratings. Last year, like you said, Derek Carr didn't have a whole lot of weapons to throw to. He had a 93 quarterback rating, which isn't great. Usually, if you're going to be a solid quarterback, you're going to be over 100. Just to put in comparison, Patrick Mahomes had a 113 quarterback rating. So 93, not great, but now he's adding one of the top receivers, which if he did what he did for the Steelers, Derek Carr could be top 10. So,
yeah, I guess it all depends how they all play together.
Mm-hmm.
So Derek Carr, we got 2 more on today's list, and we'll carry it into another episode.
Yeah.
That's the episode to really watch because
yeah.
These are going to be the make or break guys of having a winning season possibly.
So now we're actually moving into starting quarterbacks for fantasy.
This guy's almost on the verge as well. He's right on the edge. Number 12, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
What's your take on Wentz?
I really don't know what to think. Gut feeling, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback.
If he stays healthy.
Yes, if he stays healthy. Now, on the other hand, how much confidence does he have not playing? He hasn't even played a full season yet. So I'm kind of just going to sit back and watch and see what happens, but gut feeling, I think he'll be a top 10 quarterback. So
that's going to be close. There's so many good quarterbacks now in the top 10 that we do have on our list.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a breakout season to get in top 10 for any quarterback this year.
You ready for my take? So Carson Wentz, barring staying healthy, let's just say he stays healthy the rest of his career, doesn't get hurt again. And let's say Drew Brees and let's say Tom Brady retires this year. He'll be top 5 quarterback the following year. If he can stay healthy.
It all depends as well on acquisitions. Jeffrey's.
Oh, yeah, that too. I mean, they also added Deshaun Jackson. They brought him back too.
Yeah.
So that's a deep threat. I think his weapons that he has are perfect. The running game I'm not too sure about.
Every year I think Deshaun Jackson is just going to, not be good on whatever team he goes to. Somehow he can keep outrunning these corners.
Yeah.
How? The dude is drinking the same thing that Tom Brady's drinking. So
the last one of the day. Actually, this is a perfect last one because I would still say I guess I have a 9 on my list. Overall throughout the year, I like him number 11. The last 4 games in the playoffs of fantasy football, I would have him on my team. We have Tom Brady number 11. Do we even have to explain anything of what Tom Brady does or why?
He's the GOAT, but
I've been waiting 3 years for this dude to fall off. And he just somehow just literally keeps getting better.
Well, last year, everyone's like, oh, Tom Brady's done. And then it got to the end of the season. Well, there he is. We're just going to win another Super Bowl for you quick.
If you ever in your life question Tom Brady, literally go on YouTube and look at the second half of the Super Bowl when they played the Falcons. You remember that? We were watching it together.
I just want to know what was going on in the beginning of the season, if it was coaching, if it was him.
This last year?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on.
Edelman, not there. You got to get your team.
Yeah.
You got to get your team straight. Can
Belichick just hey, team chemistry is now just like 100%. We're just gonna win a Super Bowl now.
I mean, look at.
I feel like they're better than ever this year.
Every team, there's a strategy no matter what you do in sports. Every sport has it.
Yeah.
And every team's strategy is different. I think for the Patriots, I feel like the first 3-4 games, they probably don't care if they win or lose.
No.
They're a second half team, and they're a team that they say, well, I mean, you got to look at their division too. Their division has been weak.
They're just trying to mesh in the first 4 games. They're just trying to mesh.
Win the division or make the playoffs, we're fine.
Yeah.
You know, because then, you know, it's once the playoffs come around or later in the season, last few games, they block everything out.
Who had Tom Brady last year in fantasy?
Did I have him?
I thought it was you. You've had
And
him.
you finished third.
No, it was. I feel like it was Derek.
I don't think I picked him last. I think I had Kirk Cousins last year.
See, that's the only thing that scares me is that, yes, he finishes strong, but the team that he was on for fantasy, even though the rest of his team wasn't great, they didn't do that great. So fantasy-wise,
look where he was picked.
yeah. Well, fantasy-wise, he's not a top quarterback. Actual quarterback-wise, like in the league, he's the best.
I think that's why we have him perfectly rated on our list at 11, because for our league there's 12 teams. So, is Brady a starter on one of our 12 teams? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's 11 for a reason, and that's because first half of the season he's
the
not really locked in, I would say.
Yes. Also, the Patriots, I mean, obviously Bill Belichick is one of the best coaches. They know how to utilize every guy. They have one of the best rushing stats in the league. The Patriots know how to utilize 4 running backs on that team. That's another reason why Brady doesn't have as good of stats, because he does.
Yeah.
Dump off to James White. You're at the 8-yard line. You know you can get Sony Michel 80 yards at least rushing a game. Burkhead at the 1-yard line, touchdown.
I mean,
There's the Tom Brady stats going.
True.
Right.
The other thing that
They did do that quite a bit.
The other thing that we have to think about is Belichick and Brady. They don't care about our fantasy stats.
Yeah.
They could care less. It's all situation.
As long as they keep getting those rings.
Brady's getting older, so what are they going to do? They're going to get his ball, or they're going to get the ball out of his hands more and more. They're going to run the ball because they're smart.
Yeah, until it comes to crunch time.
They're only going to use Brady when it comes to crunch time.
Yeah.
That's basically it. 32-11.
Yeah.
We're gonna do 1 through 10 on another show here. Definitely have to tune into that.
Yeah.
1 to 10 is gonna be interesting. Honestly, other than the first 1 or 2, even I feel like the 10th one could be the first one. I feel like the 9th one, they're all over the place.
How about we do this? So, send us who you think our 1 through 10 is. If you get it spot on, we'll figure out a gift.
Spot on would be tough.
Spot on would be tough, but we'll get you a gift.
That's
and
not hard.
we'll mail it. We'll mail it out. So,
all right, that's basically it. Our goal is to win you guys some money, fantasy leagues, DraftKings as well. DraftKings coming daily, season long. We're gonna help you, guide you through the way. A lot more videos and stuff coming when it gets close to the season. We're a couple months away yet.
Exactly.
We're excited.
You can also see how, we'll keep you guys updated on how we're doing in our fantasies. So if somebody, is doing a little bit better, then you can follow them, which, of course, that trophy will be in my room. So
your name's never been on that trophy.